This is Micheal Burry's big prediction from 2021, summed up in just one page. He said, "People always ask me what's going on in the markets and whether or not this is the biggest speculative bubble ever." He goes on to say that all this hype and speculation is just bringing in retail customers before the biggest crash of all. And he says the losses will be almost as big as countries. Then, a few months ago, he said that for the first half of 2022, the S&P is now down about 25%, tech stocks are down about 35%, and Bitcoin is down over 65%, which is what he said would happen. So, it looks like we may be about halfway there. That's when the S&P was about here, and then we had this really nice rally over the last month, where the S&P has made up about half of what it lost. So, does this mean that the big crash is over, or is this just a bear market rally before another big crash? So, here's what Micheal Burry has been up to lately. He says that the Nasdaq is in a bull market because it has gone up more than 20% from its low point. Who comes up with this stuff? He also says that this happened to the Nasdaq 7 times after the year 2000, before it finally fell by close to 80%. This was the great tech bubble and crash of 2000. Thanks to comparison, there was also a big crash in 1929. And he says that, contrary to what the internet and Twitter sphere say, there have been bear market rallies that went above 50% and then led to a lower low. He gives a couple examples, including April 1930. So, at the start of the Great Crash of 1929, there was a big drop here, and then it went back up by more than 50%. Then, in 1935, there was another big turnaround. Another big crash happened. Over 1.5 years. Again, it went back up above 50%, and his main point is that it eventually went down to major lows. It all depends on how you define a bear market rally. As there are a lot of people who say that if the market goes up more than 20%, then you're in a bull market. I'll explain what a bull market is. So it depends on how you define a bear market rally or a cycle. And lastly, we're back to the tech bubble of the year 2000. He says that between September 2000 and January 2002, the Nasdaq lost more than 50% of its value and went down. So this looks like a big crash. And he says, there's a rally that goes over 50%. And again, we have this crash down here and this rally back up to over 50% before it goes on to a bigger major. This is based on Crash and his most recent insight. Only 1929 and the Nasdaq in 2000 could have been worse than what we saw on the stock market in 2021. Both went back more than 50%, but that didn't stop them from going down in the end. He is saying that you shouldn't be fooled by the current stock market rally, and the same goes for crypto. He says that it was the worst crush he'd had in the last 100 years. The year 1929 and the year 2000. Both had over 50% rallies in the middle. But in the end, both had much bigger falls before the bottom was reached and the story was over. What's interesting is that we just heard that Micheal Burry sold 99% of his stocks, which is the action of someone who thinks a big crash is coming soon.